Not only is flatbread extraordinarily fun to eat, but it's a super easy, low energy way that you can really upgrade and just pull a little zest on top of whatever you're making, right? Flatbread pretty much can accompany anything. Grill a bunch of stuff for your buddies, serve it with flatbread. Make a mess of braised meats, serve it with flatbread. Cry in a cold shower with all your clothes still on, flatbread. You can stuff them, you can keep them plain, you know, go wherever your maniacal baking tendencies lead you. No matter where they lead you, trust me, whoever's eating your food is going to thank you. Let's start off by mixing up all the dry ingredients. This is 500 grams of bread flour. Then we got our kosher salt. Pop 10 grams of that on one side of the bowl and 10 grams of our instant yeast on the other side. Now use your finger to mix the salt into the flour separately from the yeast, then do the same thing with the yeast, then finally bring the entire mixture together. Now we can add some fat. This is 30 grams of olive oil, but you can use melted butter or another fat in liquid form if you'd like. Then lastly, 330 grams of warm water. Somewhere between 105 and 110 Fahrenheit will do the trick. Add in half of that. Now shape your hand like a claw and begin working everything together. Slowly add the rest of the water into the mixture until one homogeneous dough blob forms. Once the blob looks like that, drizzle some oil on a smooth work surface and begin kneading. You can do this with a mixer too with the dough hook attachment if you'd like, but I do enjoy making this one by hand because it feels very nice. At first the dough is going to be a bit wet and sticky, just keep kneading and it'll smooth out over time. There are lots of effective ways to knead dough. I use both hands and the weight of my bod. One hand pulls and rotates the dough while the other pushes it out away from my body. At first you might be slow kneading, but over time you'll get a feel for it. After some practice, the motion sort of becomes second nature. You can also do what's known as the slap and fold, which is an excellent kneading technique for wet doughs. Grab the dough with two hands, slap it on the table, pick it up horizontally by its sides, and just repeat the process. After 10 or so minutes of kneading, the dough will become less sticky and smooth looking. At this point, you're G to G. Plop the blob in an oiled bowl, cover it up, and let it proof for about 20 minutes or until it's doubled in size. If you're working in a cool environment, the proof time might take a little longer, less time for a warm environment. From here, you have a decision to make. Are you going to stuff the flatbread or keep it pure? I'm going to stuff mine, so here I have a wonderful, stinky, creamy camembert cheese and some fresh basil pesto. You can get creative with your fillings, you know, think salty sweet like blue cheese in a fruit compote, or maybe pickled onion and olive tapenade. The path is yours to choose, warrior. Remove the dough from the bowl, and you shouldn't need to flour the surface because of the excess oil, but do so if you need to. Portion the dough out into 80-gram balls. This recipe should be enough for 10 to 12 medium-sized flatbreads. Portions at the ready, work them into 4 to 5 inch discs, then spoon in a smidge of pesto and a moderate chunk of cheese. Wrap that up like so, then pinch and twist the top closed. With one hand, form a loose cage over the dough ball and begin to rotate in small circles so that the dough pulls smooth from the surface tension on the table. Again, there isn't much a need for flour here, but use it if you need to. When all your balls are stuffed, dust the work surface with flour. This time, you're gonna want to use some flour. Plop a ball on the counter, then gently push the rolling pin into the middle of the ball to flatten it. Slowly roll one direction, then the other, then flip and rotate the dough, and just continue the motion until you form a thin, pancake status flatbread. Set that aside on a tray and continue down the line until you transform all of the balls into bread. Zzz. Don't worry if some of your breads leak a bit, that cheese is just going to crisp up real nice during the next step. This is how I like to store them. Just some parchment paper here to keep them separated from one another. Add some neutral high smoke point oil to a ripping hot pan and begin cooking the flatbread. And don't be afraid to char the bread a bit. That extra color goes a long way with bread like this. Trust me, it's delicious. If the bread shrinks up a bit, give it a few pizza tosses, but if that sounds a little risque, go ahead and elongate the bread by holding it by the top and letting the weight of the dough pull it downwards. All right, there we are. These are a super fun thing to prep ahead and serve to friends hot off the press, or you can totally make them ahead and warm them through in a low oven when you want to munch them. These breads are muy versatile. Super gooey. It's tough to see, but the vibrant green pesto really does shine through in these guys. They're really quite beautiful. Cheers. Boink. Wow. You got that fresh basil that hasn't been totally cooked through, just that charry outside on the bread. I don't know if you could see this, but I mean, the stuff is so soft, it's insane. It's like really soft pizza dough. That cheese is so creamy and good.